Okay, here we are again. So, on the group page in Facebook, you guys asked me to review some brushes in this YouTube channel of mine. So, let's look and see what kind of brushes I have. I figured I would start with flats because a lot of you guys are unfamiliar with flat or wash brushes. And there's so many projects, literally, that you can do with these flat brushes, that you don't realize, especially as beginners or even intermediate. It depends. So I have some advanced students that literally have not used anything but maybe coils and rounds. And to me, flat brushes are the handiest brushes for so many reasons. They make loose painting just so much easier. So I'm going to take out some of these flats that I have used and liked. We're going to set them aside and play with them today in this hopefully not too long example. These are some of the things that I've created with flat brushes. So you can do like really abstract landscapes. You can also do this with like a plastic card too. Sometimes it's easy, sometimes it's hard. If you have pans, then no, you can't really use a plastic card that well unless you transfer it into like a plate so you can pick up the color. But you're not really going to get the depth of color through pans with that technique. But you can do it through the flat brushes, and I'll show you how to do that. Other things, this is another, it's like an urban cityscape. And of course, it's pretty easy. You're going to basically go here and then you're going to play going back and forth with your flat brush. And it just makes, it really, really easy to get your lines. And if you ever have trouble getting lines, literally you can use a plastic card to keep things straight, or you can put pencil rule lines just as basics to keep you on track. So that's easy ways to do that. I have tutorials coming out. I already actually have a lot of tutorials on the landscapes here on the channel, and then also in Skillshare as well as on my website. So if you want to take courses, you are welcome to do it. Here's another one I did with flat brushes. Pretty neat. You can do all kinds of things. Back washes. You can do color removals. Again, reflections. Lots and lots of things can be accomplished through flat brushes. Let's see what else I have. You can use small flat brushes to get really, really nice, even swatches of color. You can, let's see, here's one. You can use a flat brush to apply gold. You can use a flat brush to get this entire painting done just through a flat brush. It's really interesting, right? When you start to see things and see what people have created. You can get geometrics and really neat retro kind of looks. These are just created with flat brushes, again, just playing with the golds and the layers and all of the different washes with flat brushes. Just some more ideas. Did I do these? No, not yet. This is so funny. This is a great one, done with a flat brush. So literally, these are done with a very, very like stiff flat brush, not something that holds too much water. Like this Escoda is a really good one for that. These are also done that way. Really simple. Let's see what else is in here. I marked another page, so let me see what it is. Oh yeah, these are done with flat brushes. Yeah, like literally a wash in the back, let it dry, or not, just depending on how loose you want it. And then you just take to paint down and partially wet, like so you would partially wet this area and then just kind of go down and then, wash it out, put more water, put more color. And then now I'm literally just taking these up in different strengths and letting them dry, taking them up again. And you can get all of these nice effects with that. You can even remove color. So if you want to like have different colors like in these areas and or you want to highlight the back of a wash, you can actually go along your tree and remove color or even add very, very light shades and layers in the back. So there's so many reasons why wash brushes are important. So if you're making out your Christmas list, I will put affiliate links down below for all of these brushes. And perhaps whether you're an Amazon shopper or Jackson's or wherever, I will try and find you discounts on the brushes and show you where to buy them, cheaper. But, for a lot of you, you'll use Amazon because the Prime shipping is great and you can get them in your area. And I realize that a lot of people can't get some things in their area. I have been loading up my personal website, jacquelinejax.com, with products like mostly limited edition palettes by Schminke that I absolutely love and have found out of Germany and had shipped here. So I'm going to be selling those for Christmas. Also, I'm going to be selling some custom paint for Christmas because you guys really want to be able to buy some of my custom paints that I've been playing with, and they're just really unique mixes. So what I might do is include them in the limited edition palettes, or make maybe dot cards available or little sample packs of like half pans in sets of 3. That might be nice. But in any case, I love these colors and I love to play with watercolor. So I always have some extras. Not a lot though. I mean, literally we're going to be like maybe 4 sets are going to be available of each color range. So I'm not going to be mixing massive quantities of this. It's just mainly what I've mixed here in the studio. If you would like to try them and get them, then you're welcome to get them. So something like this can also be created with your flat brush just by kind of rolling things around and just playing with this. The only thing I line drawn in is I put some basic line drawings in with a graphite pencil so that when I did this, I would know where to leave, the shapes. And then I just glazed to get multiple colors. So the underlayer would be blue from doing the sky, let it dry. And then I would go back in with some pink, maybe some Quin rose, and just like kind of let it go, leaving a lot of white where I think the light would be cast. And then I went back in with a little blue again, just to get another variation. So that's just an idea for flat brushes. I love to do these with flat brushes. I'll probably do a sample today. So we'll set that aside. And more florals with flat brushes. You wouldn't think that you could get florals with flat brushes, but they do an amazing job on loose florals. Really, really pretty. So we'll set these aside so that when I'm doing my samples here, I can play a little bit with them. How do I do this? Let's see, we'll put them there. And I'll put this one over here so I don't forget. So how are you guys doing today? You doing good? I hope so. I guess we're going to end up opening this to its extent so that I have enough room. This is what I've done so far. This is what you saw in the Facebook group. And this was running through some of the tests of these brushes. Now I'm going to redo them, of course, because we need to kind of know what we're doing now that I do. Maybe I'll just turn these over. There. Okay, we'll start here. So, need a pen. Let's run through these brushes really, really quick. These are by Winsor Newton, and they are hacky brushes. Hacky brushes are made with a very stiff but soft, kind of like maybe a goat hair, pony. There's, some of them are synthetic, but they do shed a little bit. But once the shedding kind of goes away, it will, even out. If you have excessive shedding in these, though, it's not usually a good brush, and that's why I get the Winsor Newton versions. They're not very expensive, and they're just built really well, even despite the fact that my dog likes to try and grab them and chew on them. They're very light. And these are used on larger paintings, or if you want to dip them in water and just really, really wet both sides of your paper to get it to lie down flat before you start. They will add a ton of water. I have a lot of people, though, that do large scale paintings. They use these because they like the roughness of the brush strokes, and they like the, all the little streaks that come out. So it's a really great way to get that painterly effect, is anything like this. But they do make small versions of these too. So if you usually work on 9x11s, or was it 9x12s, then you would just get something like 1 inch or 1/2 inch, 3/4 of an inch. This is a 2 inch and this is a 3 inch. And again, I use them for larger washes and just to have fun with bigger bigger pieces, right? Okay, so we're not going to test these out though, because I need really big pieces of paper, and this would just be a nightmare. Totally. Okay, so next is these Mottler brushes. These are great. I love these. I use these a lot in the landscapes, especially this one. Sometimes I'll take a plastic card, just go across, and then I'll use this with water and bring it down, and it's just beautiful. It does a great job. This is the Princeton Aqua Elite Mottler 1.5. You don't really need anything else but this for most projects, even in my sketchbook. This one's good. I got this from Da Vinci. It's made in Germany. It's completely different than this brush. It's a lot looser and floppier. So if you're looking for something that's really like wet, loosey-goosey, then this is the brush for you. I still love this one and tend to use this a whole lot more. But again, it's pretty good. Maybe we'll sample this. I don't know. Right now I'm not getting out the water until I explain these brushes. Otherwise, I will make a mess. This next one is Winsor Newton. Winsor Newton is a great series. This one is the 995 series, and it's a 3/4 inch brush. All you really ever need if you want something that doesn't need to hold a lot of water, but will deliver a lot of paint and also can remove color well. This removes color very, very well, and I tend to use it mostly for that. Another one that removes color well because it's very stiff, but a lot stiffer than the Winsor & Newton. So Winsor & Newton's a lot softer. The Princeton Velvet Touch is very similar in snap. Very, very similar. Both 3/4 wash brushes, so whichever one you can get a hold of. They both remove color well. They lay down blocks of color in non-diluted forms. You would have to really add a lot of water and wash your brush out and create the color to get the color. So usually they deliver more intense color because they don't hold a lot of water, so they're not washing it out, and they can be used more. They're like mixed media. I would consider them more mixed media than just watercolor. This is the Aqua Elite line by Princeton, and this is a 3/4 inch brush. It is a great brush. I love Aqua Elite because it's a step up from these kind of brushes, and it delivers both precise lines because it's got enough snap. It does a great job with washes. It doesn't hold a lot of water though, so it doesn't overly saturate your paper. So if that's the kind of painter that you are, then this is a great brush for you. In fact, all of the Aqua Elite line, I find I use a lot for details, and I use a lot when I want very heavy concentrations of color. Then finally, in the Princeton line, these are my favorite Princeton flats. I love these. I bought them, originally I got this one in a set. So there is a set that gets you started. Look for the Neptune set with the 3/4 inch square wash brush. You will love that set. Literally, you could paint anything with that one set. So if you're just looking for one brush set to get you started, I really recommend this. Yes, they are very, very loose. They are not too loose though. They have some firmness to them, and there's a lot you can do with these brushes. And if it does hold a little too much water, simply just dab it on a paper towel and then put it in your paint. And that way you have both options. And I'll do that in the test today. This comes in, and it's got these beautiful sea glass handles, which I just love. I mean, this is a brush that you collect and you just keep, you know, because it's just beautiful. It's made so well. It never loses a hair, and it just always performs so good. I actually use brush soap to clean these and reshape them, and they just are wonderful. I can't say enough good things about Neptune. Princeton Neptune square wash 1 inch, 1/2, 1/4, and then again, this was the 3/4 that comes in the sample kit. So I ordered all these sizes because I like having a range of sizes. The ones in between don't really matter to me, but if you look, I have a complete range of these, and I use them constantly. I mean, these are my go-to brushes for washes, for just getting some loose color flowers. That's actually what I used to create this and this. So you can't go wrong. It delivers great color, but it also gives you enough water, you know, and the availability of water, I would say, because you can dab them off. Escoda is something, the flat washes, I got originally one of these in a set. And I love this set. It's amazing. The Fabio Cambronelli set. Cambronelli, he's an artist. They do these artist sets. I have 2 more sets coming in that I'm going to be testing out for you set by set and doing a painting so you can get more familiar with Escoda Prado. Escoda Prado, I would say, is somewhere in between the Neptune and the Aqua Elite because it does hold water. It is a bit softer than the Aqua Elite. It's a really, really finely made brush. They're weighted. So they are very, very professionally weighted brushes, and they're just gorgeous. I mean, you just are inspired to paint with Escoda brushes. Do they perform as well as the Neptune? It's in a different way entirely. I mean, when I do flowers like this, I usually either create the exact wash that I want, and then I kind of go, and I'll show you in the test today. This is a 3/4 inch Escoda Prado, and this is a 1 inch Escoda Prado. Love working with them. But as far as like inline performances, is like you'll see in the test how much water they actually hold. Okay, so let's figure out here. We're going to start with the Neptune. So this is a flat brush demo. And so Princeton Neptune. We'll just choose one Princeton Neptune, I think, that's about the same size as the rest. And then I can show you the other ones just so that we can fit them all on one page. That's what I didn't do in the other time. The next one would be the Princeton Aqua Elite. Again, 3/4 inch. Then we have the Escoda Prado, 3/4 inch. The Winsor Newton, and this is the, what is it, Series 995. 3/4 inch. And the, oh, we did Princeton Aqua Elite. What am I missing? No, I'm not missing. Velvet Touch. This is the Princeton Velvet Touch. And 3/4 inch. Okay, so we'll do the 3/4 inches, and then on this sheet, we'll kind of test the various other ones and see how they line up. Starting with the Neptune. All right, get some water. Love it, love it, love it. I'm going to get some brand new color here. What should we use? Let's use the French Ultra. This is the, let me see which one. Schminke French Ultra. I love that. Schminke French Ultra is beautiful. It's actually going to be in some limited edition palettes that I have coming in to my website. So if you like Schminke or you collect limited edition palettes, which is so much fun to do because they sell out and you can never get them again, and you know, and you have them and they have these interesting tin boxes that are so different. So what I do is I add a lot of water. So I'm trying to get a lot of water into this, and then there we go. And then we get color. Okay, that's pretty good. And I'm just gonna go ahead and draw. Nice delivery, huh? Pretty good. So I have, that is not from the brush actually. Okay. Let's get a little more concentrated color. So you can see, even though I'm using pure concentrated color, because this holds so much water, it's not going to present as dark as you would think. And as far as lines, you can do pretty good. This is a pretty big brush to be able to do these lines. So when you see samples like this, that's what's creating these nice wash lines. So they come out really well, and they're even because of the Neptune brush, because the way it delivers the color. And that's how you want to think of, you know, your painting style and how you want your color delivered. You don't want just sharp lines, you know, unless you do. And if you do, there's another brush for that. So that's helpful, right? Okay. And we will do some florals too in just a sec. Let's let these dry. Always lay your brushes, always rinse them out. Don't leave them in the water, and lay them on a towel when you're through, so that the water doesn't seep into the glue in the barrel, because that's really, really bad for your brushes. So the next one is the Aqua Elite. This one holds less water, so I'm dipping it in water. Again, going back to my paint, the French Ultra, Schminker French Ultra. Then just make sure it's evenly distributed, and let's go. So you can see where it starts to run out of water. It dumps all of the water in the beginning instead of holding on to it this is more like a regular animal brush hair, because it hangs on to the water and more evenly distributes it. This one dumps it all in the beginning. So this is why I don't use this one for washes, because I have to dry it first and then put. So now, like, now that it's dry or drier, if I go back and I add color, now you can see where I can get the more concentrated color lines, and they're thinner, you know, and it's just really easy to get a different effect on my water or on my petals from this brush. You know what I mean? So maybe on this one, since we're here, so if I was going to create, can you see this? Oh yeah. So if I was going to create a flower, I would just lay this brush down and just kind of let it do its thing, you know? And then I can create my stem that way. And then I would just, for the petals, do like a little twist. And then you have this beautiful flower. Now, when I lay it down, see, it kind of, what's left on the brush will bring that, you know, this nice little streak out. So if you wanted this, you could do it that way. It's a great way to just get a little flower, you know. And then see, if I add water, it will just dilute the color and just dump a ton of water. And that's one thing about the brushes that have a lot more snap. You have to be careful, because they will dump a ton of water on your paper and make it a little harder for you. So you have to be really kind of intuitive and really watch what your brushes do, so that you're not fighting them when you're painting. I hope you guys come and take my classes either in Skillshare or on my website, because I think you'll learn a lot. If you're here looking at your brushes and you want to learn about doing full paintings and taking these techniques in, then certainly come and do the classes with me. It'd be fun. The next one is the Escoda Prado, 3/4 inch. Great for florals, but we're going to see how it performs. So grab some paint and let's go. Look at that. Okay, so you can see, right? It definitely doesn't hold water, but it's great for delivering color because it's stiff enough. And this is why it's more of a professional brush series, because look at this, look at the perfect little color lines that it makes, right? But it's not a wash brush. It isn't. It's just made for something else. So let's do our flower with this and see how it performs. Just kind of dragging it around. Yeah, see, it gives me everything I need. I can add a little more water, but it's still, if you notice, what it's doing is it's giving me what I need to play with, but at the same time, it's not diluting the color. So although it's not a wash brush, look at how well it gives me color for what I'm trying to do here. So if you want a very like depth of color, and I always consider this ability to have depth of color and the layers even on water. Like if something's wet, you don't need to let it dry. That's, you know, that's a more professional kind of style of painting, because you don't always, you know, do a lot of plein air. This is something I would bring with me for plein air, because I just feel like it gives me so much value, right? For my moment in painting. I can add layers before things are dry, and I literally, you know, can do a lot with it. Then I can wet it down, dilute the color out, and create a nice loose background. And even loosen the side of the flower. And see, because it doesn't have so much water, I can literally loosen some of my flower up without just destroying it. Isn't that great? So that's why this is a very specific brush. It doesn't do everything, but what it does really, really well. And I think that's the thing that people don't understand about Escoda brushes. They're not like one size fits all. They're very professional series, specifically designed to do certain things really easily for you. And that's why I collect the Escoda too. I really like them. So Winsor Newton is a pretty main made in China staple. In the past years, they have really kind of skimped on their production line, because I think the company sold. And once the company sold, I did not like the watercolor mixes coming out. I just wasn't really happy with the company after that. So it's kind of a little disappointing. But with that being said, I do have this brush from them, and I do use it for certain things. I mostly use it for things where it might be harder on my other brushes. But as you can tell, it dumps a whole lot of color in the beginning. So for a wash brush that's inexpensive, I still think it's really expensive considering what you get. It does remove color well, but there are cheaper options out there. And if you're going to get one of these, I feel like this brush will work for some people, but isn't really like a wash brush, and isn't really like the best one to get depth of color. There's just so many other options, right? And remember, it's made in China, so you're buying the name and not necessarily the quality of the brush. But with that being said, I've had this one for a long time. It is a workhorse brush. It really won't disintegrate. Nothing will really happen to it. It will last a long time, and you can beat it up. So if you're going to be using acrylic or a lot of different mixed media, even colored pencils, maybe this is, you know, a brush for you if you can get a really good deal on it. Let's go ahead and see what we can do here. So it kind of gives me a little bit of play, but not a ton. It runs out of color really quickly, as you can tell. So I'm pretty much, I've only got, but you know, it does give me nice fine lines, but it's already, the color's already gone, and the water's almost already gone too. So I don't have a lot that I can do with this. Oh, I'm painting off the side. Sorry guys. I know you hate it when I do that. I just couldn't see. But you can see it ran out of color. So it dumped all the color in the beginning, where this one kept the color and this one kept the color. This one just didn't give it to me after that, you know? And it doesn't really, it wants to just, like, it doesn't give me the dimensions in my colors. So I have to, it's up to me to add that, to paint like that, right? I can't go over the same area exactly. I have to decide where I'm going to place the color. So this one challenges a painter a lot more to think, because it tends to want to paint too evenly, which doesn't make it very professional. And, you know, it really does test your painting skills more. Let's start labeling these, shall we? I lost my pen again. Oh, there we go. So this first one is the Neptune. I guess, yeah, I can put them here. Second one is the Escoda. I don't think this was the Neptune. Wasn't this the Elite? I don't know. I think it was the Elite. It looks like the Elite. And this one is the Winsor Newton. The Velvet Touch is going to be very simple, like very similar, but we're going to do it. Okay, so Velvet Touch is next. water, load the brush, and here we go. Nothing. You got nothing. I'm going to have to add a little more water, and we'll try it one more time. Still very, very little, and it diluted the color. So it's a really inexpensive version of Winsor Newton, right? So this is by Princeton. This is why it's the cheapest brush line. So I know a lot of beginners buy it because they're like, oh, it's a Princeton brush. It is good for some things, but it is going to challenge you to work differently, as you can tell. Does it do really sharp lines? Yes, it does really sharp lines because it's so stiff and it doesn't hold a lot of water. So if you load your paintbrush up, there's a lot of things that you can do with this brush, you know? Yeah, so it'll work for you, you know what I mean? But you have to, what you learn on is the kind of artist that you become. So if you're looking for a wish list of brushes, I would go with something else. If you already have this brush and it's the beginning, then by all means use it, you know, and enjoy it. It delivers color fairly well, you know, like I can really, because it's a very stiff brush and it doesn't hold, as long as your paint is juicy, and I'm not using pans for this, we'll have to do a pan comparison later. I can get a lot of color onto this brush, and that's something that I find Princeton does really well. You know, they definitely make these brushes for mixed media. So you can do this one with acrylic, you can use this with watercolor, and it will perform fine. You know, you'll get used to it and you'll be able to paint great. As far as getting those nice little like professional elements, you definitely have to go back in and add more paint if you want. Otherwise, your layers are going to be very, very similar and you're going to have a very flat look. So to get out of that flat look, you have to go back in and really kind of do layers, and that could cause soupy messes. You know, that's definitely going to be a little more of a challenge, but at the same time, it is going to challenge you to paint better, right? Okay, so I had to go back in several times, but it did a good job. I was able to build something up there that's nice, and it built better than the Winsor Newton. So this is like better than the Winsor Newton, and that's why Winsor Newton, they used to be so good. I mean, I have brushes that my mom painted with when she was in school that are over 50 years old, and they're still beautiful brushes, and they're from Winsor Newton. But I also have ones by Princeton, and by far they're the nicer brushes. A long time ago, when they were making their brushes, they would make like red sable and, you know, and animal hair brushes, which we don't tend to use anymore, but I have them because they're collectors, and, you know, they've been in our family for a long time. So here is the red velvet. Nice. Good job, right? Winsor Newton, not so great, but I made it work. Escoda, a little more professional looking, a little looser. Elite does a good job, but not really that even, but we kind of like that. It would kind of be, you see why I kind of compare it to Escoda, because I can get really good lines with it. I can get some different variations in the color. And I feel like it's easier to achieve this look. Here, I had to go back in. It wasn't a one-touch thing. So with the cheaper brush, you have to work harder than with the better brushes. You know? What didn't I paint with? So I didn't paint a flower with the Neptune. Let's go back and paint a flower with our Neptune, just so you can see how it performs. So loading the brush, and we'll put it right here. Oh, make sure you can see. There we go. So see, it's very washy, so I have to do it differently. I'm tapping it so that I can get the lines, but because it's so loose, it's going to create more curvy lines rather than straight lines. And I definitely, the shape of the brush is looser, so it's a lot more difficult to create the same look. And I have to go back in and add more color, which I'm going to do now, just to try and get some depth and variations. But at the same time, you know, you can make this work, and then you have the option of having a wash. Now, with a brush that has a lot more delivery of water, then in order to compensate for that, if you wanted to use it for this purpose, is to dry it out and then pick up your color. And then you have that option. But again, it makes you work hard because you still got to go in and play with the amount of paint that it's delivering. And it tends, because it's a big water brush, it tends to deliver really even color. So these colors are going to look like they're just flat when they're dried, unless you go back in and you add color. But it doesn't really do much else than washes. You know, you really do. If you want to use this only, I just recommend that you have another brush, because it's very consistent in its washes. So for what it does, it's highly consistent. And that's why you're seeing, you know, it a little bit difficult to get any variations. I would have to kind of dry maybe some of this up. But the fact that it delivers so much water, you're getting heavy granulation. And that's, you know, that's an advantage to washes for sure. Okay, so let me label that. So this is the Neptune. So these are all 3/4 inch flat brush demos. Helpful, right? Okay, let's take a closer look at what we did here with these. So we've got Princeton Neptune, delivered a lot of water very evenly, makes for a nice wash, makes for pretty thick versions of strikes. Can you do a thinner version? Yeah, you can. You can load it with paint and take some of the water out, and then you get a thinner one, but it does make you work to get that additional option. It's just a great wash brush and great for very, very loose applications of color. Princeton Aqua Elite dumps all the water in the beginning. It's not really meant for washes. It's more of a, you know, precision brush to create some of these really cool looking mottled lines. It does building up of color nicely. The fact that it dumps a lot of water in the beginning, you get more granulation, and then you can go back in and still achieve more detailed lines. And that part is really cool. That's why I tend to reach for that a little more. So if I were looking for something a little more professional to do details, then this would be the brush for me. But this is a must-have, right? Because you need a good wash brush. So the Neptune pretty much can do everything. The Prado is not for washes. You would use something else for that. It is more of a professional series brush where you can get a lot more detail and do more detailed professional looking work with that brush. And it's a very, very good weighted brush. It feels good in the hand. Winsor Newton series, $9.95, just a cheap brush altogether. It would be good to lift color. It's a beat up brush that you don't have to worry about, you know. It dumps a lot of color in the beginning and then runs out so quickly. For what it is, I mean, if it were trying to compare it to Prado, I would definitely go with Prado. This would cause trouble for me because it dumps so much unevenly in the beginning, right? Where this one kind of just delivers it evenly. I just don't like the fact that that does that. I think that that causes a lot of trouble, and it makes you paint. It's harder to paint with, right? So like when you look at these and you really tear them apart and look very, very closely, you can see on the Winsor Newton one where I had to go back in and kind of glaze over. And so now you're getting something that is much different and harder to achieve. And I think the ease of painting with the other ones makes a big difference. When you look at the Neptune, it dumps a lot of water, so you get heavy granulation. I can add depth of color if I go back in. Essentially, this is a great one to get that light kind of washy version of your color. That would be fun to do because you can paint first, let it dry or semi-dry, and then add some more color, like just get it like really saturated with less water, and then you have that option. So this one gives you more options because you can go from washes to a little more detail, but not fine lines. A little bit, you know, if you're good, but not fine lines. But you have another brush for that anyway. The Velvet Touch is similar to the Winsor Newton, but a little step up. When I looked at it, it delivers color pretty evenly. It doesn't dump everything out in the beginning, which is pretty nice. It would be good for dry brushing effects, but the Prado would do dry brushing amazingly well, you know. So if you were just going to choose one brush, I would still go with the Prado by Escoda or something similar. For washes, I love the Neptune, which is this one right here. The Elite, you don't really need the Elite unless you like to remove color, but if you want to remove color and you have this Prado one, then it's going to remove color too. So it removes color really well just by dragging it across, you know? So you don't really need to get these cheaper brushes in order to remove color. I would recommend the Neptune and the Escoda. I like those two. If you can't find Escoda, then the next one would be the Aqua Elite. I would recommend. Those would be my two favorite choices. All right. So while we have just a little extra time, shall we do a really quick, let me set these aside where they won't get on anything. Since we have a little extra time, we could do one of these paintings like I showed you. So let's do it. Let's do a quick one with the Prado, the two ones that I recommended, and I'll show you how to do one with the Neptune. So that way, if you only had these two for the most options, then you could create this look with those. So I'm going to first, what do I first do? I mean, you can start with the background, but I think I'm just going to start with the flowers. Let's get some pretty colors here. So what should we use? How about, oh, we could use my cherry that I just developed. Hang on, let me get it. You're going to get tired of seeing, I'm going to have to make some more colors because you're going to get sick and tired of seeing me paint with these colors. Okay. Label these. So this is going to be the Neptune. 3/4. And this is going to be the Escoda. Prado. Let's see them perform, shall we? It's kind of fun, actually. I like these brush tutorials. They're a good time. Great. I need my tweezers. I end up getting paint all over me the minute I touch these things. Should just leave them on this plate. Okay. Let me rinse off my hands before I end up with it everywhere. Okay, Neptune. Come on, Neptune. Let's dip it in our paint. I love cherry. This is just my favorite paint right now. It's just beautiful. So you can see I can get a really lot of color variations with this. So I can make this work completely well. So like literally, if you just want one brush, you could do this one. Okay, so we got those in. Simple. Look at that. Let's put that in the water and rinse it out. I have one for rinsing the brush and one for clean. I actually keep two for rinsing my brushes and one clean. So I'm gonna have to make some more cherry. I'm almost out of it. Okay, here we go, Escoda. Oh yeah, this brings out the granulation. It's the brush. So when we say, is it the brush? It's the brush. Look at that. I love painting with this brush. I can do all kinds of different shapes. I can drag it and it just gives me, look at, see the variations, like see how even this is, but here this brush just delivers really cool different things for me. That's why I'm collecting Escoda brushes, because I just love them. I have so much fun with them. I'm going to actually I ordered a couple of extra travel brushes for my website to include in some palettes for you guys with Schminke, because you've been telling me that you can't get a lot of these things where you are. So I'm willing to try and ship, you know. So I did order a couple of extra so that I could put them on my website for you guys. And I got them on sale so that I can cover the credit card fees so that you can actually send the money for them. So we'll work it out that way. Not a lot though. I mean, you know, just a little, just so that you can have access to them. So you can see the difference, right? As good as this brush is, it still requires me to do a little more work and clean up after. Okay, so don't put this away. Let's now do the, yep, let's do that. So I'm going to take my green. This is the peacock color. And we're going to try and get some leaf shapes, or not leaf shapes, but stems. So I'm just kind of dabbing them. I can drag the brush, but it's going to make a lot thicker line. Still great brush, right? Great brush to use. And then let's give ourselves a really rough base. So easy to do with a flat brush. And I'm just going to kind of let this work its way out and spread some of the color in. So I'm adding some more color just to see if I can get a little more depth going in my painting here. It just wants to add so much water that I do have to go back. So it's not really, like I said, it's not really meant for this, but at the same time you can have still a lot of fun with it. So if you want a great wash brush that you can do other things with, this is still my recommendation at this price point. And it will make you become a better artist, no doubt. Both of these brushes will. But you can see when something delivers a lot of water, it's great because it allows you to play with watercolor just quickly, you know? It's lovely. So I'm just kind of striking this out just to fill my spot with some pretty shapes. Beautiful. I got a nice loose base looking. Let's get some of the water out. Okay. Add a little more depth on a few of these stems and let them bleed. So I have to go back in and kind of get some more depth, but you know what I do love is the fact that it's leaking some of that beautiful cherry. Yes, I know you're asking already, where can I get this color? I will release a couple of sets of the limited edition colors when I first make them, for sure, because I know you're going to want these. They're really, really pretty. And these ones are from the White Knight series, actually. Oh, that's so beautiful. Okay, let me get same brush, load it with a little more cherry, and see if I can encourage a few bleeds with this wash. Because I really like the way it's carrying it down on this area here. So I'm just kind of like touching some of the areas to encourage that beautiful purple to come through, because I really love it, and I think it just adds to this painting so much. It's beautiful. So now that I have this purple made on my brush, I'm going to go ahead and create kind of a washy, loose. And that's what this brush does really well. These nice, beautiful washes where it spreads the color, because it holds a lot of water and really evenly distributing the water. If this would have been a brush where it dumps too much water on the bottom, you could never have done this. And if you had to reload your brush and then it dumped water every time, you'd end up with massive puddles that you would hate. So look at that. Just as quick as that with that brush. To break up this color here, can I pick up color? Yeah, I can, but not in the way that you probably would want to pick up color. But we're going to do it anyway because this is such a loose brush. It doesn't really, I can't really train it to go where I want it. But it's working. See, it's very, very loose. But I can move the color, which is kind of nice, so that I can get some more effects on my flowers and loosen up some of these areas. It's pretty nice. Okay, it worked. It's good. So we'll let that dry. See how it goes. Let's rinse our brushes out. Then after we're done, don't forget you want to use brush soap on them always. Put this there. Here's my Prado. Did I rinse it out? Yeah. Let's pick up the green. I got as much water as I can possibly get in here to see how this goes. So a lot of water, and look at the depth of color it delivers. This is such a great tutorial right now because it's showing you the differences in the brushes you choose, so that if you are experiencing any of these little minor struggles, yeah, we got to do a brush series. We have to do more because this is really going to teach you so much about your brushes and what you can accomplish with them. See, I can just do so much with this. I love it. Just taking the petals and doing some nice loose shapes on the base of the flowers. And that's just kind of flicking my brush up like that. And then we're going to do those nice loose curls. Now you notice I'm not having to reload this with water at all, and it's giving me nice variations on still not loading it with more water at all. I'm just picking up the paint. Oh, I love this little like flick it does. It's really nice. That's really cool. And look at that, without any work, you see how the evenness is happening from the less expensive brush. The more expensive brush, it's giving you right away different depths of color, even though I'm the same artist, same paint, and same technique, same hand, but much different results. And then if I want to go back in and establish different variations of these colors, it does it with one stroke. You know what I mean? So this is where the brush, the materials, you know, this is Schminke. No, this is actually, these are White Knight combinations. So this is a much cheaper paint, but here it's granulating. It's a beautiful granulating paint that I made from White Knights. And I love it because it's just beautiful. You know, it's like made with a lot of ultramarine, which is just a gorgeous granulating color, no matter pretty much in all of the upper grades. So like I would consider White Knights to be student grade paint, but this has a light fast of 3 or higher. It's semi-transparent and it's granulating. So what else do you need in life, right? Beautiful. And it goes a long way because it's got so much color in it. Yeah, I love how this turned out. So let's go back in with a little more of the cherry. haven't even used my gray yet. So I'm just going to kind of add some more of my cherry in here, just really easily as another layer. But I really don't need to, because it did not, as opposed to this one, it's already drying in variations. So this is actually a third layer that I'm getting from it, which is really nice, you know? And yep, I'm able to get the purple too, even though it dried faster. That's what this did. So if I want to get the purple, I kind of have to mix it on my palette, or do wet on wet. And that's why this is good for professional series, because most professional painters will just paint wet on wet, you know? Okay, so I'm going to wet the brush, get some of my lavender here, and create my backwash. Lavender, so that I have kind of a foreground established and a little bit of a quick, nice background, washing through some of the, to loosen up some of the shapes and the flowers and encourage a few of these bleeds. This is a great way if you want to control the amount of wet on your paper. This is a great way to do it and still get a backdrop, because you can control the bleeds. Like I'm controlling where I'm letting my flowers bleed just by putting some water and letting them kind of explode a little bit to fill that space. So I still have a nice space fill and some blends of color here and some nice brush strokes, but I'm only able to do it with this brush. You can see even removing the color, it doesn't give you that same quality. You know what I mean? Every layer I do with this brush just adds beautiful dimension in a different way. It's not striking it in a way that like makes everything so even that it doesn't look like, you know, that it looks flat. And I think that's the big thing in watercolor is people who are just starting tend to be frustrated with how flat things look, you know? God, that is so pretty. Let's add some little like petals that fell on the bottom. Okay. Lovely. So nice. Okay, I'm going to leave it. I didn't use the gray, but we don't need to. Let's just keep with this because this made 3 colors basically and lots of it. So as a review on our brush series, we have the Neptune. Really even colors no matter what I do. It just, even if I use a lot of wash, and it kind of gives this like a little bit of a soupy backwash as it dries. It spread because it delivered so much water. And even when I went in with really big color, like saturated colors, I had to remove some color. It did remove color pretty well. And it, you know, it does a good job for what it is, but it's a wash brush. Can you use it for paintings? Absolutely. Yeah, you can. You just have to paint differently. The professional Escoda Prado, though, you can see what I was able to achieve in very little time. The same amount of time, I get more depth of color, I get more glazes, I get a lot of brush strokes that are revealed, and it's a little more interesting looking painting. Especially in here, it maintained the quality where this, it just bled into each other, and see how it's becoming flat? When this dries, I'll literally have to go back in and add dimension because this whole area will just look flat. This will not. This will stay dark. This will stay dark. These areas will not look flat. They will definitely hold those variations in the variety in the paint and color. And this is on cheap paper too. This paper is the my current nemesis, which is the Fabriano 1264 made in Italy. It's 140 pound, 300 GSM, 9 by 12. It is like it's a cold pressed paper, but it does have a, this is a grain fine, but what I liked about it, And the reason why I keep using it is because it's got this really cool texture. You can see it in my color cards. And I wanted to do a lot with granulating colors and mixing my own granulations. So you can see how this paper does a good job in showing the granulation and making it come out. It's not overly expensive either. It's like $20 Canadian for a whole pad. So it's great for tutorials and great for practices and sketches and all kinds of stuff. I can beat it up pretty well actually, and it maintains. So although my original review was just like totally slamming this paper, honestly, we have worked it out. The two of us have become really good friends, and I'm now liking my my experience with the Fabriano, really cheap watercolor paper as a good alternative. I do notice though that when it dries, if you notice the colors aren't as vibrant when they dry, and so if you want to maintain the colors this vibrant, you would want to use 100% cotton paper. This is not 100% cotton paper. It's just a sketchbook pad. But for what it is, it's great to work things out and do tests and everything. All right, guys, I hope you like that. If you want to see me do more paint colors, let me know. If you want to see me paint any of the samples that I showed you in the beginning, let me know which one and I can recreate it. And let me also know what brushes you use, what you love, and what you'd like to see me review in the future. Take care, be safe, happy painting, enjoy yourself. Don't get too serious, just use it as a time to relax, get messy, put a glass surface down and just paint like crazy and then clean it all up later. Have a good one.